Hey there. Ready for a deep dive into something straight out of the future?
Yeah, I'm excited about this one.
We're going deep on robotic firefighters.
Oh, cool.
And not just like the concept, but the whole market that's building around them. It's about to be huge.
I know, right? I'm fascinated.
We've got this brand new report from Cognitive Market Research, just out in January 2025, all about the global robotic firefighters market. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's jump in. What stood out to me first was it's not just a fantasy anymore.
Yeah.
This report shows us that the market is projected to more than double by 2033.
Whoa, that is a big jump.
From $1.6 billion in 2025 to a massive $3.4 billion.
That is huge. That's like a 10% growth rate.
Yeah.
Which is faster than a lot of those, like industries that have been around forever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we're talking like major technological wave, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And to understand this wave, you really have to look at where it's all happening. And right now, North America is in the lead.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Over 40% of the market share in 2025, which makes sense. They've always been at the forefront, early adopters,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to safety and high-risk industries.
Okay, so North America is dominant, but is anyone else like catching up or?
Well, that's what makes it really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, North America is out in front right now.
Right.
The Asia-Pacific region is expected to grow the fastest.
Wow.
A CAGR of almost 12%. That's a big surge.
So what's going on over there? Why is that region like taking off?
Well, you got to think about it. Rapid industrialization, stricter safety regulations, and increased investment in new tech. It's all happening there.
Right.
So it's definitely a region to watch for anyone who's interested in this whole, future of firefighting.
Yeah. It feels like there's a lot of opportunity over there then, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we've got this, this booming market, but what exactly are we talking about when we say robotic firefighters? Like, is there just one standard model?
Mm.
Or are we talking about different types of robots?
No, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all thing. The report actually breaks down the market into three main types of robotic firefighters: tracked, wheeled, and humanoid.
Okay, so I'm kind of picturing like the tracked ones being those like tank-like robots, like the
yeah.
ones that can handle like any kind of rough terrain, almost like those little bulldozers, but for fighting fires.
You got it. They're designed to go over debris and hazards, anything you might find at a fire. They're like the heavy-duty responders.
I like that. Heavy-duty responders. Okay, so then we've got wheeled, which have got to be all about like speed and maneuverability, right? Like getting around like tight spaces,
Yeah, precisely. Ideal for those complex indoor environments like, buildings or warehouses. They're like the agile responders.
Right, right. The first one's on the scene kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then finally, we have humanoid robots, which is where it starts to get really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Are we talking robots that actually resemble firefighters?
Well, maybe not quite like in the movies just yet, but
Right.
these robots are designed to have that more human-like form, maybe with arms,
Okay.
sometimes hands, so they can actually use tools and equipment. And this is the most advanced segment,
Okay.
and it's gaining a lot of traction.
Yeah, the report mentioned that, like the humanoid robots are the fastest growing segment. But why is that? What's driving that?
Well, I think it really comes down to versatility.
Okay.
They can do a lot more, potentially like operating hoses, opening doors, even search and rescue, which the others can't really do as well.
Right, right.
There's so much research happening with AI and machine learning specifically for these types,
Okay.
which is just going to unlock more and more of their capabilities.
So it's not just about like extinguishing the fires anymore. It's actually about navigating these like complex situations.
Okay.
And potentially like saving lives in ways that the other types just can't.
Exactly. And it leads to another big question. Who's using them? I mean, it can't just be fire departments.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, actually.
Yeah.
Like, what other industries are we seeing them in?
Well, the report highlights a few key sectors: industrial, military and defense, commercial, residential, and then a bunch of others.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. When we talk about industrial, what are we really talking about there?
Think like high-risk environments, chemical plants, oil refineries, power plants, manufacturing, anywhere. A fire could be really bad news.
Right.
Robotic firefighters are a way to, really enhance safety and just minimize that damage.
It's all about mitigating risk then in those potentially catastrophic situations.
Yeah.
Okay. But residential, that's interesting to me. Are we talking like robots in people's homes?
Yeah, that's right. And it's a sector that's supposed to grow a lot. Imagine, as smart homes keep getting more popular, a robotic firefighter could be a normal thing to have, a safety feature. It could detect and put out fires before they even really start.
Oh, that is wild. It's like having
Ugh.
a 247 firefighter right there in your living room. I never even thought about that. That's crazy.
Mm.
Makes you wonder how else our daily lives might be transformed by this, right?
Oh, for sure. It's a huge shift. Going from these, specialized industrial applications to potentially just being an everyday appliance, it just shows how fast things can change, really.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got these different types of robotic firefighters,
Yeah.
the different sectors using them. But what's behind this growth? What's really driving this whole market?
Well, there's a few factors at play.
Yeah,
Most importantly, the constant progress in, robotics and AI.
right.
These technologies are moving so fast, which leads to, smarter, more capable robots.
It's like those software updates we get on our phones, but like way bigger.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about a new feature. We're talking about like making these robots smarter and more effective.
Exactly, yeah. And another major thing is that everyone's more concerned about firefighter safety now.
Right.
It's really
Oh,
dangerous.
absolutely.
And robotic firefighters, they can actually protect human lives. Let them handle the really risky stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We rely so much on those brave men and women who are out there, putting their lives on the line.
Yeah.
If we can use technology to keep them safer, that's a huge win for everyone.
Totally. And then there's governments. A lot of countries are making new rules and funding projects to push this whole, advanced fire suppression technology,
Ooh.
including robotic
So
firefighters.
it's like a combination of better technology, this focus on safety, and the government support that's pushing this market forward.
Yeah.
But like with any new technology, there's got to be challenges too, right?
Oh, of
There's
course.
always things that are holding things back. What are some of those hurdles that we got to overcome?
Well, one of the biggest is cost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Developing and producing these advanced robots, it's expensive, which can be a problem for smaller fire departments or anyone with a limited budget.
Yeah, it's still a pretty new technology.
Mm.
And like anything new that's cutting edge, it's going to come with, a pretty hefty price tag. What other limitations are we looking at here?
Well, the technology itself has some limitations.
Yeah.
We've made a lot of progress with robotics and AI, but there are still problems, especially when it comes to making decisions on their own in really complex, unpredictable situations like a fire.
So these robots are getting smarter and smarter. But you're saying they're not quite ready to fully replace human firefighters yet. It's
Yeah.
still going to be a team effort for a while.
That's right. It's all about finding the right balance. We can use the technology to be safer, to be more effective, but we also have to remember that there are some things about firefighting that need human experience, human judgment,
Right.
that adaptability that's hard to program. You can't just replace humans completely.
That makes sense. It's like working together, like a team, humans and robots,
Anyway, yeah.
where robots are there to like help us do things better, but not necessarily take over completely. Okay, so we've got this global view of the market now, but I want to get closer to home,
Yeah.
since we're probably sitting here in North America.
Right.
Let's look at what's happening in our own backyard.
Oh, okay, great idea. So, as we said, North America is currently the leader,
Right.
and the U.S. is a big part of that. In 2025, their market was over $500 million,
Wow.
and it's only expected to grow.
Okay, so what's driving that dominance in the U.S. specifically?
Well, a few things.
Yeah.
The U.S. has always invested a lot in cutting-edge technology, especially when it comes to, defense and public safety.
Mhm.
They also like to be innovative, quick to adopt new solutions, and they're big, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge country, lots of fire departments, both urban and rural, so there's a lot of potential customers out there.
Right. That makes sense. And I can't imagine the wildfires that have been happening
Yeah.
are probably pushing that need even more.
Absolutely. There's a real emphasis on minimizing risk, protecting both firefighters and communities, especially with those huge, intense fires.
Yeah, it sounds like it's this combination of having a strong tech foundation,
Yeah.
being really proactive about safety, and then also having this pressing need,
Yeah.
for these better firefighting solutions.
Right.
Okay, so what about our neighbors then, Canada and Mexico?
They're growing too,
Sure.
just not as fast as the U.S. A lot of the same factors are at play, safety concerns and the desire to modernize,
Yeah.
upgrade their firefighting forces.
So it sounds like North America as a whole is really embracing this technology, just at different speeds, I guess. Like
Right.
this wave that's starting in the U.S. and then spreading out.
Mm.
Okay, so let's talk about the companies behind all of this innovation now.
Yeah.
Who are the big players shaping the future of robotic firefighting?
That's a great question. The report highlights a few. Any names stand out to you?
Well, a few caught my eye. How, Shark Robotics, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, to name a few. They all seem to be bringing something different to the table.
Oh, they absolutely are. How are known for their tough robots.
Yeah.
Like really rugged, built for extreme conditions, even military applications.
Okay, so if you need a robot that can handle just about anything, they're the ones to go to.
You got it.
Their approach seems to be all about, like, brute strength and durability.
That's a good way to put it. Then there's Shark Robotics.
Right.
They're all about versatility and adaptability. They make robots that can be, customized for all kinds of scenarios.
They're like the Swiss Army knives of robots,
Yeah, great analogy.
able to handle anything you throw at them.
That's right.
Okay, so we've got the tough ones, we've got the versatile ones, and then we've got Mitsubishi Heavy Industries,
Right.
which is already like a huge company.
Global powerhouse,
Yeah.
known for their engineering. They're bringing all that to the table and making, some of the most advanced robots out there.
Wow. It's really interesting how each company is approaching this,
Yeah.
Some focus on ruggedness, others on adaptability,
Right.
and some on just pure, like, technological advancement.
Yeah, and they're all competing for their place in this rapidly growing market.
Absolutely. And ultimately, I think that competition is a good thing, right?
Sure.
Because it pushes everyone to be better,
Yeah.
be more innovative,
Exactly.
and then customers get more choices.
It benefits everyone.
Okay, so we've got all these companies building these incredible robots, but how do they actually get them to the fire departments,
Right.
and other organizations that need them? What are the sales channels involved here?
Well, there are two main ones, direct sales and indirect sales.
Okay, so break those down for me. I assume direct sales means that the company just, like, works directly with the fire department?
You got it. Companies like How, Shark Robotics, Mitsubishi Heavy Industry, working directly with fire departments, government agencies, anyone who needs the robots. It's the main way things are done now.
Right.
Because it lets them customize solutions, and really understand their clients.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you're dealing with, like, such specialized high-value equipment, you really want to make sure that the solution fits your specific needs.
Oh, absolutely.
And that you have a good partner,
Exactly.
It's not like buying something simple.
No, it's a complex sale, lots of things to consider, and they often create, unique solutions. But indirect sales are becoming more important too.
Okay.
Working with distributors and resellers
Yeah.
helps companies reach more people.
So it's like the difference between going to, like, a specialty store versus going to, like, a big department store.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
One's a more personalized experience.
Right.
The other one's more about accessibility and convenience.
Exactly, and both are important. Direct sales for the custom stuff, indirect to reach everyone else. It's all about meeting that demand.
Yeah, it's a really interesting landscape, and it's clear that these companies are always looking for new ways to connect with customers and make their robots more widely available. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
From the market trends and technological advancement to the real-world applications and sales channels. It's been really insightful so far.
I agree.
But what does all this mean for the future of firefighting? What's the big picture here?
It's a big shift,
Right. Like, it's a whole new way of thinking about fighting fires.
Exactly.
We've talked about the market growth and the technology getting better. But what does all this mean for the average person?
Right.
Like, how will this actually change our lives?
So think about it. We're going from reacting to fires to trying to prevent them in the first place. Robotic firefighters aren't just about putting out fires. They're about stopping them from even starting.
That's a huge change, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like treating the cause, not just the symptoms,
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that?
Huh.
How do we actually get to that proactive approach?
It's a lot of things coming together. We're already seeing buildings getting smarter, right?
Yeah.
With better sensors and detection systems. Combine that with these robots that can, respond to threats before they get out of hand.
Right.
And you've got a pretty powerful way to prevent fires.
So it's like building this web of interconnected technologies, almost like an early warning system, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That can identify and take care of potential problems before they become big fires.
Exactly. And this is just the start. As tech keeps getting better, we're going to see even more innovative solutions, I think.
Yeah.
We're just at the beginning of a revolution in fire safety.
You know, it makes me wonder what the fire station of the future is going to look like. Yep. Will it be like filled with robots?
Yeah.
Will human firefighters like not be needed anymore?
Yeah, it's the big question.
Yeah.
And it's tough to say for sure, but based on what we're seeing now,
Yeah.
I think we'll see humans and robots working together.
Okay.
Robots will handle the really dangerous, repetitive stuff,
Right.
freeing up the humans to focus on, strategy, the complex problem solving, those things that need a human touch.
Right, because robots can be super precise, super efficient, but they can't replicate like human intuition and adaptability,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially in those crazy, unpredictable moments in a fire.
Right. Exactly.
It's really interesting to think about this partnership between humans and machines.
It is.
Yeah.
And remember, we talked about the residential sector growing. This isn't just for factories or big disasters.
Yeah.
This tech is coming to our homes, our everyday lives.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think about it, you know? We could be living in homes with robotic firefighters, just like we have smoke detectors now. It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah, it is. And it raises some interesting questions, right? Like, what happens when we depend so much on tech for our safety?
Right, right.
Could we become too reliant on these robots and maybe like lose those essential human skills and judgment along the way?
That's a good point. It's like using GPS all the time, you know?
Right.
Get you where you need to go, but you might forget how to read a map or figure things out on your own.
Exactly. So even though this robotic firefighter tech is awesome, we also need to keep developing those human skills that robots can't replace.
Yeah.
Critical thinking, adaptability, good judgment, that kind of thing.
So it's about that balance again, right?
Right?
Using tech to make us better, but not letting it make us weaker in other ways.
Exactly. It's a conversation we need to have as we move forward with this tech. The future of fire safety depends on finding that balance.
Yeah, I completely agree. This deep dive has been, it's been really eye-opening. It's given me a whole new perspective on this whole robotic firefighter thing. I used to think of them as like futuristic gadgets,
Yeah.
but now I see the impact they can have, saving lives,
Mhm.
protecting property, and just changing how we think about fire safety as a whole.
Yeah.
It's not just about cool technology. It's about making the world a safer place.
I couldn't agree more. It's a field with so much potential and innovation, but we also have to be smart about how we use it. It's a big responsibility.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the present and the future of all this, but I'm curious about what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Like, are there actual robotic firefighters out there in the field today?
Absolutely. In fact, there are some amazing examples of robotic firefighters already making a difference out there. Let's look at a few of those just to see how this technology is being used in the real world.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm really curious to hear about how these robots are actually being used.
So one great example is the Los Angeles Fire Department. They started using this robotic fire truck in 2020 called the RS3. It's basically a remote-controlled fire hose on tracks.
A fire hose on tracks. That sounds pretty intense. What's the advantage of something like that?
Well, it can get closer to the fire than a human could ever safely get, and it can pump out like 2,500 gallons of water per minute.
Wow, that's a lot of water.
It's really good at putting out flames quickly and stopping fires from spreading.
Yeah, it sounds like a real game changer for those really intense fires.
It is.
Yeah.
Then, in 2021, the New York City Fire Department started using a robot dog called Spot.
Wait, a robot dog? That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. What does a robot dog even do at a fire?
It might sound strange, but Spot is really agile.
Okay.
And it can get into dangerous spots that would be tough or risky for humans to go into.
Okay.
It's got cameras, sensors, all that stuff, so it can give firefighters a view of what's going on, check if a building is safe, even search for people who might be trapped.
That's amazing. So it's like having extra eyes and ears in a dangerous situation.
Exactly.
It can go places and get information that would be impossible for a person to get.
Exactly. And it's not just fire departments.
Yeah.
Companies like Shell and ExxonMobil, they've been using robotic firefighters in their refineries and chemical plants for years now.
Makes sense.
Those robots are designed to deal with dangerous materials and put out fires in places where it would be way too risky for a human to go.
Yeah. In those high-risk environments, keeping people safe is the top priority. So having robots handle those dangerous jobs, is a huge step forward.
Exactly.
And these are just a few examples of how robotic firefighters are already being used.
Yeah,
And as the tech gets better, we'll see even more ways to use them.
for sure.
It's really cool to see this idea go from, like, a concept to a reality, you know?
It is.
But let's go back to the report for a second.
Yeah.
We talked about the companies that are building these robots, but how do they actually get them to the fire departments? Or other organizations that need them? What are those sales channels like?
Right. So remember, we talked about those two main channels, direct and indirect.
Yeah.
Direct sales means the company works directly with the customer.
Right.
Fire departments, government agencies, whoever needs those robots. This lets them tailor the solutions
Right.
and build those close relationships,
Yeah.
which is really important for this kind of specialized equipment.
Yeah, it makes sense. When you're talking about spending a lot of money on something like this, you want to make sure it fits your needs
Oh, absolutely.
and that you've got a reliable partner, you know?
Right.
It's not like buying something simple off the shelf.
No, it's a big decision, and they often create those unique solutions. But indirect sales are getting bigger, too,
Right.
using distributors and resellers to reach more people.
Yeah, so it's like other industries. You have the direct sales team, and then you have the partners and distributors.
Exactly.
And they both play a role in growing the market.
That's right. Direct sales for the custom stuff. Indirect sales to reach everyone else,
Yeah.
so you can meet all that demand.
Yeah, it's a dynamic landscape, and it seems like these companies are always finding new ways to connect with potential customers
Yeah,
and get those robots out there.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From market trends to real-world applications and sales channels. It's been really insightful.
It's been fascinating, right?
Yeah.
We've really dug deep into this industry that's changing so fast.
Yeah,
An industry that's going to reshape how we think about fire safety.
absolutely.
But we've talked a lot about where we are now. Let's shift gears and talk about the future.
Yeah, let's do it.
What trends should we watch for? What new innovations might be coming? What does the future hold for this game-changing tech?
It feels like we're at this, like, turning point, you know?
Yeah,
This report's given us a good snapshot of where things are right now.
yeah.
But what about tomorrow? Like, what's next for all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's always hard to, like, predict the future.
Right.
But I think looking at what we've seen,
Okay.
there are a few key things to keep an eye on. For one, AI and machine learning are only going to get more integrated into these robots.
So we're not just talking about robots responding to fires, but actually learning from each one,
Yeah.
getting smarter, more effective, like they're building their own firefighting knowledge almost.
Exactly. Imagine a robot that can analyze a fire, like right there on the spot, figure out what's burning, how it's going to spread, and then change its tactics all in real time. That's where we're headed, I think.
That's insane. It'd be like having like this super smart firefighter there, making those split-second decisions based on all this data and experience.
All right.
Almost like giving them a sixth sense for firefighting.
Exactly. Another thing is materials and manufacturing.
Okay.
We might see robots built from, lighter, stronger stuff.
Right.
Stuff that can withstand crazy temperatures and dangerous conditions.
So not only smarter, but also tougher. Like giving them superpowers or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we'll see more focus on how robots and humans work together. They'll need to communicate really well, understand commands, be part of the team,
Yeah.
It's not just about making better robots. It's about making them fit into how we fight fires now.
Right. It's about that partnership like we talked about before,
Yeah.
where humans and robots can use what makes them unique to work together and protect people and property.
Exactly. And as this tech keeps getting better, we might see it used in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like search and rescue in collapsed buildings or
yeah.
dealing with hazardous materials. The possibilities are huge.
Yeah.
We're just scratching the surface here.
It is exciting to think about, how this tech can make the world safer. It's not just about fires. It's about helping people in all sorts of emergencies. It feels like we're entering this whole new era of how we respond to these things.
We are. And as we wrap up here, I think it's important to remember that the future of all this isn't like perfect. There are challenges like we talked about, the costs, the tech limitations, maybe even becoming too reliant on these robots.
Right.
But if we're careful, if we think about it the right way, I think we can use this technology to create a safer future for everyone.
I totally agree. It's been awesome diving into all this, and I feel like we've only just begun to understand what robotic firefighters can really do. So, to everyone listening, next time you see a fire truck rushing by, remember, there might be a robotic firefighter right there with it, ready to go. And who knows, maybe someday you'll even have one in your own home, keeping you and your family safe.
It's definitely something to think about. The lines between, sci-fi and reality are getting blurry,
Yeah.
and it's up to us to make sure this tech helps everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Hmm.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next one.